Well, I'm Jason Lisle. I have a PhD in astrophysics from the University of Colorado at Boulder, and I'm a research scientist here at Answers in Genesis. And even when I was in grad school, every day, the first thing I'd do is check out the Answers in Genesis website. And then Ken Ham came out and spoke in Colorado one time. It was actually after the Columbine tragedy that happened out there. He came out and spoke on the connection between evolution and school violence, and there is a connection. And told him that I'd be interested in maybe helping out. And shortly after that, I got my PhD and came on staff here, and I've been here for about 3 years now.
How long ago do evolutionists believe the Big Bang was?
Well, my secular colleagues believe that the universe was created in a Big Bang, an explosion that happened supposedly 13.7 billion years ago, and it just sort of, came into existence at that point. And then matter supposedly forms later from that, and that matter would be hydrogen and helium gas with trace amounts of lithium. And then that matter supposedly forms stars, and then they explode and disperse those heavier elements out into space, which helps other stars to form, and planets also condense from some of the heavier stuff, and that's how you end up with the rockier planets like Earth and so on. And of course there's lots of problems with that scenario. The Bible tells us that on day 4 God made the lights in the firmament. He says he made the greater light, that'd be the sun, the lesser light, that'd be the moon, and the stars also. And biblically, planets are actually classified as stars. And in fact, there's lots of evidence that those planets were created recently, a few thousand years ago, just like the Bible teaches. For example, the internal heat of the planets, like Jupiter and Neptune, they give off a lot of energy because they're very warm. And if they were really billions of years old, they should have cooled down a long time ago. But the fact that they're still warm is because they're actually very young. So it's actually supportive of the biblical time scale.
So then what do they claim caused the Big Bang?
I've heard some people speculate that it's sort of seeded off from another universe, and that sort of pushes the problem back a bit. Yeah, but a lot of them just say this is just the way it is. We can't go back beyond that moment, they say, and so that's just, we're going to have to live with it. And so they don't really have a good justification for believing in the Big Bang. Whereas our explanation makes a lot of sense. There's a God who created the universe. People sometimes, critics will say, well, but then who made God? And a lot of times that puts the Christian in a bind, but not really, because things that have a beginning require a cause. The universe has a beginning, and therefore it requires a cause, because things are running down, and that means the universe was wound up a finite amount of time ago. It has a beginning. God is beyond time, doesn't have a beginning, doesn't require a cause. In other words, if the Bible weren't true, science really wouldn't be possible, because science requires a logical, orderly universe that behaves in a consistent, predictable fashion. Otherwise, science would be impossible, right? And yet, if the universe were just an accident, the byproduct of a Big Bang, why would it obey laws, for example? So if naturalism is true, logic would be impossible. You wouldn't be able to reason. If you give up the Bible, you've really given up the possibility of knowing anything.